Right in the heart of Paris's historic Marais district, kind of tucked away from all the big grand boulevards, there's this place with a story literally in its name. Le Marché des Enfants Rouges, the Market of the Red Children. It's actually the city's oldest covered market, and today we're going to dig into its incredible 400-year journey.
But yeah, about that name, it's beautiful, maybe a little haunting, and it just makes you ask the question, why on earth would you name a vibrant food market after children dressed in red? Well, the answer takes us centuries back in time and really shows you the layers of history hidden in the streets of Paris. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get to the bottom of that name. Then we'll take a tour of the market's amazing food stalls. We're also going to look at its role as a real community hub, explore why public markets like this are making a huge comeback, and wrap up with a pretty important question about what their future looks like.
All right, let's get right into it. Part 1, The Market of the Red Children, a story that's been 400 years in the making. And here's the answer. It's a story rooted in charity and loss. Before there was ever a market here, this exact spot was home to an orphanage founded way back in the 17th century. The children there were given red uniforms. It was a very visible symbol of Christian charity, and so the name, the Market of the Red Children, just stuck. It's a permanent, kind of poignant reminder of what this place used to be. Now, the market's history is a real roller coaster. It was officially established by King Louis XIII himself in 1615. But, like a lot of city markets, it nearly disappeared after World War II, when supermarkets started popping up everywhere. But thankfully, it was saved, totally revitalized, and now it's not just a bustling food hub, but a protected historical monument. So, what do we even mean by a public market? It's a very specific idea. Academics define it as more than just a place to buy stuff. It's a permanent spot in the city that sells specialized local goods. And this is key. It often comes with what some call a myth of resistance. It's a conscious choice to be an alternative to the big, impersonal supermarket chains. And this really breaks down that difference perfectly. Think about it. Public markets are rooted in a place, run by local folks. The whole experience is social. You chat with the vendors, you see your neighbors. Supermarkets, on the other hand, can be anywhere. They're often owned by giant corporations, and the experience is really just about the transaction. It's a totally different philosophy when it comes to food and community. And that philosophy, it really comes alive when you taste the food. So let's get into part 2, a taste of the world. Because today, the heart of the market is this incredible global culinary tour. Okay, first up, the Butcher of Paris. Now, this is not your average butcher. They're part of what people are calling the meat revolution, a movement that's all about quality and transparency. They source these incredible, rare breeds like Tigre veal from Corsica and Angus from small farms in Morvan. These are true artisans you can actually talk to about where your food is coming from. Of course, it's France, so you know there has to be amazing cheese. La Petite Ferme d'Inez is basically a cheese lover's paradise. You've got all the classic French raw milk cheeses you could dream of, but also a fantastic selection from Italy, Spain, even Holland. It's a perfect example of how these markets are both deeply local and wonderfully global. And if you're looking for something with a bit of a kick, there's Crossroads. This is where you go for a serious hit of spice and flavor. They serve up things like crispy cod akras, which are these amazing fritters, and achaman, these delicious beignets from Cameroon. It's street food at its absolute best, usually eaten standing up, just soaking in the market's incredible vibe. You see, all of this, the amazing food, the buzzing atmosphere, it all points to something deeper. This is about so much more than just shopping. Which brings us to part 3, more than a marketplace, and this ancient idea of the agora. Think back to ancient Greece, right? The agora was the absolute heart of the city. Yeah, it was a marketplace, but it was also where people gathered to talk, to debate, to just be together. It was the center of public life. And a lot of researchers see today's public markets as a modern version of that, a space that is, at its core, all about social connection. And these places build community in some really specific ways. You actually get to know the people you buy your food from. The market creates a unique sense of place. It feels like somewhere, not just anywhere. It's a natural spot to bump into your neighbors, and it provides a space for that shared experience of eating and just enjoying life together.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Why does this whole model matter so much right now? That's part 4, why public markets matter, the bigger picture.
This quote from the research really gets to the heart of it. It says public markets offer a myth of resistance. What does that even mean? Well, it means they tap into this deep feeling a lot of us have for something different, something more authentic and human-sized than the massive industrial food system we're used to. Shopping at a price like this feels like you're making a real choice.
And this model is seen as being sustainable on so many levels. Economically, it's simple. Money spent here is way more likely to stay here, supporting local entrepreneurs. Socially, it builds those community bonds we were just talking about. Ethically, you often know the producer, so it's fairer. And environmentally, it strengthens local food systems, cutting down the distance from farm to table. So at the end of the day, what's the secret sauce? Why are these places thriving? It's because they're built on a really powerful set of values. The search for authenticity in a mass-produced world, the desire to support local businesses, and this idea of reciprocity, that direct human connection between the person making the food and the person eating it.
But, it's not all perfect, which leads us to our final section, the future of local. Are we looking at a perfect model here, or is it more of a nostalgic dream? And here's the really tough question, right? High-quality artisanal food usually costs more. And as the research points out, a lot of these revitalized markets, including Les Enfants Rouges, are in pretty central, wealthy neighborhoods. So that can create a barrier, and it raises real questions about who really gets to enjoy these spaces. But even with those challenges, you just can't deny the appeal. And this isn't just a Paris thing. Get this. In the US alone, the number of public markets shot up to over 8,000 by 2012. That's a huge sign that this model is meeting a very real need, and it's a massive growing trend. So it all comes down to this. Are these markets a vital blueprint for the future of our cities, making them more local, more connected, more sustainable? Or are they a beautiful but ultimately exclusive fantasy of the past, a place where authenticity just becomes another high-priced product? The answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But the 400-year story of the Market of the Red Children shows just how powerful and how relevant this idea truly is.